You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming back to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. My name's Jordan Lowe.
Hey, I'm Cliff Barnes.
Hey, I'm Seth.
Hey!
I don't know what that's all about.
Hey! 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 Okay. I'm gonna be going. Hey! What was that?
That was funny.
That was funny. Let's go do it to somebody else. Hey!
Hey, let's
I
play
don't
a
know how
game.
to. This is episode 300 and something. I don't know how to start it.
Let's play a game.
anymore.
Play a game.
Okay.
Okay. You guys
Right into it. Right into it.
Yeah. Why not? You guys name an actor or actress.
Just randomly?
Sure.
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder. Well, that's gonna be a tough one, probably, or maybe not. Okay, maybe not. Name the. Okay, you know what? We did this once in one of our trivia games, so we're just gonna do this one. What's the known for on IMDb for movies?
IMDb, like the ones they show the picture of.
Yeah, the first four are what they're known for.
Willy Wonka.
That's got to be the obvious first one.
Yeah.
Young
Blazing
Frankenstein?
Young
Yeah.
Frankenstein. Yep, that's number 2.
Blazing Saddles.
Nope.
Ooh.
It's something with Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of those.
Yep. Which one? 1989. I'll give you that.
Oh. That's probably the one where isn't one deaf and one's blind.
Yep.
God, what? I don't know the name of the movie though.
Yeah, I'm blanking on that too.
Okay, I'll give it close enough. See no evil, hear no evil.
Nah.
And the last one's 1967.
Gene Wilder, 1967.
Directed by Mel Brooks. Written by Mel Brooks.
What was... Wow, that's got to be an early one.
Was he in no? He wasn't in The Producers, was he?
That's it. You got it.
Okay. Lucky guess.
You guys did it. See how easy that was. Okay, let's
Wow.
go on with our day. We played a little game. Warm up. A little warm up.
I feel jazzed up. Ready to roll. Took my last trip to our local theater, you guys.
I hit the little app on my phone. It said today. It said no show times. It's like wah.
Did you delete it?
I haven't had the heart to take it off my phone yet. It's still there.
I could have sworn as I was driving by there on my way home tonight, I kind of looked in that direction and because I was like, why are there were like cars in the parking lot? Like, right parked right in front of where the movie posters are. And I was just like, what are they doing there? They're closed. Do they not know?
There wasn't that Harbor Freight deal. No, I had a customer Wednesday ask me, have you seen Ant-Man yet? I said, yeah, I did. He's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go on Cheap Tuesday. I was like, I got bad news for you.
Wow. I got bad news for you.
Wow.
You don't get the paper, first off. I know this.
He was like, what? He was shocked, completely flabbergasted.
Tell him about the train wreck.
But yeah, so I had so Knock at the Cabin was the last time I spent a little chunk off of my gift certificate that I got for Christmas. So I had $33 left on this gift certificate. They weren't opening any new movies.
Spending spree.
I wasn't gonna go see Man Named Otto.
Yeah.
80 for Brady or whatever. 3 movies they're playing down there.
Pay me
for
$33.
month.
God, that'll be a trivia question one day. What were the last 3 movies that played Odyssey, 7, and Marietta, Ohio? You'll never guess.
So Wednesday after work, I'm like, I'm not gonna see any of these movies, and they're not gonna get my $30. Like it's the
they don't get to
benefit
keep that.
it. They are a horrible company for closing our theater. They're not gonna
Yes.
get to keep my money. I'm spending it on something. So I just drove down, pulled in the theater. I was like, if there's anyone out and about, I will hand them this card and say, enjoy a night at the movies. Pay it forward. There was nobody around, of course. Nobody in the lobby.
That was a problem.
Nobody in the parking lot, nobody in the lobby. So I just went in. I was like, hey, I got a gift certificate. And there's a manager and a young kid there. And the manager grabs it. He's like, scans it. Oh, yep, you have $33 left. I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, I just want to buy some stuff. What do you got? I was looking at the candy. I was like, Reese's Pieces, how much are those? They're like $4.99 or something. $1 box of candy.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, give me 6 of them. So the kid's like scrambling under the desk. He has to go over to the other counter to find them. He's like, we only got 5. This has got to be complicated.
Yep.
I was like, give me one of those Nesquiks.
It's another Brewster's Millions situation. We keep finding ourselves in these.
Yeah. So I bought 5 packages of Reese's Pieces and a Nesquik chocolate milk. And I told the kid, I was like, I'm really sorry to hear about this closing. Feeling self-pity. Yeah. And he's like, yep. I was like, oh, this kid just lost his job. Like, I was feeling bad about myself. I was like, I had to drive to the mall to watch Ant-Man. And I'm talking to the kid who lost his job. I was like, yeah, sorry about that. So I rattled my way back to the car with all my.
He was like, pieces. I thought at least I thought I was going to get to have these last few boxes of Reese's.
Yeah. You got my last chocolate milk. They didn't even sell chocolate milk. It was probably just he stuck it in the freezer bag there.
Sold it to you.
It was his lunch.
They're like, whatever they come in and ask for, you got to give it.
Yep.
So I'm squared up. I'm evened up. They don't get any of my money.
I would have totally went in there and been like, I want 4 of those $8 Mountain Dews, and just for old time's sake.
I tried for something more permanent. I'm like, I want my seat. This is the chair I sat in. Like the people get from municipal stadium and stuff. I want my theater seat.
You know, going to that theater for the last 30 years, one of the constants I could always count on at that theater was if you went into the men's room, there would be a bag over the urinal. And it would be like
bag over the urinal.
Bag over the urinal.
Orange cone.
For 30 years. Sometimes it'd be like half full. Like from the time I was like 12 years old, I remember that bag over that one urinal that was always broken for 30 years.
Memories. Anyway. But we saw Ant-Man. We all found a way to see Ant-Man. So at the end of this episode, we will give our review.
Yeah.
And probably spoil it after a little bit. So look forward to that. What are we going to talk about first? You guys been watching anything? Nope. Nope. We may get to that a lot.
Go to Ant-Man.
I watched a couple things.
Good.
Hold on. Let's see. I watched that. I've been watching Poker Face still. Great show. I texted you, Cliff, that this latest episode was a real takedown of Kathleen Kennedy. It was pretty obvious. I like that he did not write the episode like it was like he was trying to hide the fact that he did this. And I saw some article that said how he called Natasha Lyonne directed this episode and co-wrote it or whatever with whoever, and he called him and gave him a whole bunch of ideas. They said, anyway, it's like they had an Industrial Light and Magic type business, and there's a woman and some men, and how she like I did all this and da da da. You know, basically, Nick Nolte plays a guy named Art. There's people die in all these episodes and stuff. But it's just like there's a lot of it's just very blatant things, and basically made it look like he may have had an opinion about her, about his Star Wars movies getting canceled.
Yeah, she does not have the best reputation as it is.
So I thought that was pretty funny. But that's good stuff. There's been a couple things on Netflix. Let's see. I watched Physical 100. Did you see this? This is the top of Netflix. Like, it was like it's Korean, I think, and they have like the top 100 Korean athletic people. Like they have it's bodybuilders and Olympic people and all these, men and women, and they had them compete in like a Squid Game tournament of physical tests, and it was pretty neat. It was kind of interesting. This is, and what I liked about it is how like supportive they were of each other. They were just, it was a bunch of, it was also like what do they call it? Ultimate Fighting guys and things like just all these people with, super athletes. That's kind of neat. It was some of it drug on, but it's cool. Then they have the new show Full Swing, which is about golf.
Oh yeah,
it's like that. It's the same producers that did Drive to Survive, that F1 show. I've watched the last 4 seasons. Fifth season just came out. Where that was such a huge hit, like, tons of people did not watch F1, but they watch this show and get all the behind the scenes where they follow the previous season and see everything, all the, drama between the drivers and their crews and everything. And so they thought, why don't we do this with other sports? And so like they did this previous season of golf 2022 and just released 8 episodes about that, and just all the drama with that. I don't know if you guys heard about the Live Saudi Arabia tournament taking a bunch of PGA players and PGA banning them from the tour, but they got some big players,
Yeah.
And they got, they like Phil Mickelson and, a few other ones, that Dustin Johnson, they took them. But it's really interesting. And they're trying to get people excited for the new season of golf by letting you watch a bunch of this. And then, golf's starting up strong here for the summer. And then I guess they're doing another one. They're doing another one called Quarterback that comes out in the summer. So right before football. And I think they follow mainly Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, and Mahomes.
Yeah.
So
all the big ones.
So they'll show a bunch of behind the scenes stuff from this last season that I'm sure I'll watch.
Yeah.
It makes it interesting because you see, I enjoy watching some sports, but I've always liked, whatever Hard Knocks and stuff like that. So
yeah, I have because especially with NFL football and the Browns and being such a big fan my whole life, I've always been I always followed the local journalists, the local radio. I would listen to it every day, and I have finally gotten to the point and just so frustrated with that team that I finally like kind of cut it off at the end of the season. Like I was just watching games this year. I wasn't into all the every detail and every little drama.
Spare yourself, though.
Pretty much. And yeah, I even like remove because I would they would put one of the Cleveland state, the biggest station, would put their morning shows out in podcast form every day. And so I would, like, on my way to work, I would listen to the previous day show or earlier that morning, and you know, they just hyper detail and all the rumors and all these reporters and stuff. And I finally deleted that show off my podcast because I hadn't listened to it in so long, and it was just clogging up my phone. I was like, yes, this break is working for me. So hopefully I can get back into some of the, you know, more, because I like those shows and there's drama to it, but it's more entertainment than, you know, in the thick of it. So
anyway, it got me hyped up to play some golf this year because I used to golf. I haven't went the last few years, and I was like, now watching them golf and stuff kind of makes me want to get back out there. I like walking around on a nicely trimmed golf course. So, you know, it's something about that. Just being outside casually. I don't get mad about it. Like, yeah, I'm not great. I'm fine. Yeah. I can go golfing with someone, but I'm not going to win.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I like going out there, hitting the ball, drinking a beer, riding a golf cart, or, you know, just chilling out for a few hours. We used to go several times a year, so we'll find somebody to go golfing with and get back out there.
Yeah, I want. I tried playing for a while, and that is not my sport.
Basically, you just I always tell people, if you just look at the ball, you will hit it, and it will go closer to the hole than it is at.
Yeah,
and then you go hit it again.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it. Who cares how many times that takes?
They should hire you as like the club.
Yeah, I'm the club pro.
Club pro, of course, pro there.
Well,
the only new show I watched was the Fox sitcom Animal Control, starring Joel McHale.
Truck 12, neighbor complaint, unlicensed ostrich farm.
Should I be concerned?
They are violent and have famously bad temperaments.
It's bad, Frank. It's starting to feel extremely targeted.
This gentleman's bunnies ate his drugs.
What kind?
Floppy-eared, fluffy.
No, the drugs. What kind of drugs?
It's my first week. I should really wait for backup.
I can see that you're stressed out.
We just got a 911 on a bear, get this, in a hot tub.
He looks so relaxed. Did he turn the jets on?
He's got a crazy look in his eyes.
This thing is super strong. It's on me now.
It's rare when a hero is also so funny.
You know, my grandmother had a hard time with stairs, but, you know, she found a way to do it.
Animal Control premieres February 16th on Fox.
I like sitcoms. I'll give just about anything a chance. Guys, this broke a record for Fox as the most streamed scripted debut ever.
Really?
Not by me.
4.5 million streamers, quote, multi-platform viewers. So I'm watching on Hulu, there's Fox Now or your local stream or whatever. But the most streamed scripted debut for Fox ever. So there you go. That was a biggie.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Not really.
No.
Yeah. He's the only real name in the cast. There's several people I recognize from other shows that, like, they're familiar actors and some brand new. But it just kind of... All right, so Community, his big, huge breakout role, He was a lawyer who was disbarred. and has to slum it with all these people he thinks he's better than, right? And then it's fish out of water. Well, this show, he's a cop who like got fired. Like there was corruption on the force, and he ended up getting fired. And now, so he thinks he's better than all his coworkers. So it's the exact same formula, and he mocks everyone else and doesn't want to be friends with them. And like, you know, it's the exact same Jeff Winger from Community formula. Like, I guess that's what he's good at. So let's have him do it some more. But then we'll put some funny animals in it too. And it just didn't really work for me. Even though I love Community, but just
Yeah.
can't capture the lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Over on ABC, I feel like we never talk about this. My wife's favorite show currently. Probably the biggest sitcom happening right now, but Abbott Elementary. Do you guys watch this show at all?
Never saw that one.
It won a bunch of awards.
It did. Yeah, it's actually really good. It's not my favorite thing, but it probably is my wife's favorite thing on television currently. She's started watching it from the beginning, and it's written well. The cast is pretty well rounded. There's no huge name in any of them, at least, you know, starting out. They're kind of getting known now, but the kids are cute that they have in it, and it's very much a has a little bit of the Office type feel, but in a school. There's some, you know, the two I guess main characters you know, have this will they won't they thing going on. That's kind of finally we got a little movement forward on that in this past week. So, but it's a good show. Like I said, it's won a lot of awards, and you know, teaching is such a hot topic right now that I don't know, I kind of like it. So, and the other show, or other news about sitcoms on ABC is they finally canceled the Goldbergs. After
when you shared that, I thought the Goldbergs is still on.
I saw a lot of that reaction, like, who's watching?
I liked that show at the beginning, and then after about 5 or 6 seasons, it was so samey. It became like a caricature of itself. It was just like, is this really going on?
Yeah,
the curse of so many popular sitcoms. They just have to keep retreading the same ground.
They don't know when to quit, and I don't even know who's left in the cast at this point. So, they, you know, I know the guy that played Pops, he died.
Yeah,
and Jeff Garland was fired from the show. So,
yeah,
I don't know who's still left there, but it's going away.
10 years. I suppose you can't do a show about the 80s much longer than 10 years.
Apparently. Or a school, or a show about a kid in high school. Riverdale.
Oh, like, you are so wrong. You could do a show like that forever. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I might as well just get to some Ant-Man.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. 31st MCU release.
Wow.
And the kickoff to Phase 5.
You're an interesting man, Scott Lang. You're an Avenger. You have a daughter, but you've lost a lot of time, like me. We can help each other with that. Who are you? I'm the man who can give you the one thing you want. What's that? Time.
I can rewrite existence and shatter timelines. You cannot trust him.
I don't care who this guy is. I just lost so much.
he can give us a second chance. Let me make this easy for you. You will bring me what I need, or everything you call life will end.
I kind of wanted to talk about it before we dive into the actual review as more big picture of where we are in the Marvel world and your feelings about it. So I had a $105.5 million opening, which is better opening weekends than the first two Ant-Man films. And this is the first release of the year to break 100 million. So it's a blockbuster superhero movie, like always. But that's worse than all three Marvel movies last year. So Doctor Strange, Thor, and Black Panther all had better opening weekends than this. So I don't know what that means. We're on a sliding scale. Like, I'm not saying Marvel's in trouble or, it's going to start collapsing in on itself. But
that cinema score thing they do that Marvel always got A's on, I think they've had 5 out of those 31 movies have had a B. And it's basically 4 out of those 5 are the last 4 movies. So they're starting to just slip a little.
So that everything I've read about this movie, any review or anything, I hear somewhere is mentioned, quote, superhero fatigue. Or someone complaining how you can't watch it without homework. You got to watch all these previous movies and stuff. So, but then I heard there were complaints at the beginning, like Phase 4. So after the whole Infinity Saga and Endgame, and which Seth, I hate that you were right about that. Where you're like, it's not going to be any good after that. And then it's like, I felt the same way when you chastised Cliff for Last of Us. He's like, that episode was so good, it's probably not going to be. You're like, if it's good now, why won't it be good later? I felt the same way about Marvel. Like, why won't it still be good? Why would you doubt it? But, so the beginning of this multiverse saga, there were complaints. It's not leading anywhere. The Eternals had nothing to do with Shang-Chi, which had nothing to do with these TV shows. And it's not connecting like it did. But then there's also complaints. I said that there's too much homework. It's too interconnected. Like you can't. I don't know how you please anyone. Which I feel like looking back at the earliest movies, did Thor 2 have anything to do with Ant-Man 1? Or it's like it. I just felt, but we all trusted that it did back then. Like it felt like they had a plan. And now I feel like we've just all of a sudden abandoned. We don't believe them when they say it's leading somewhere.
Well, we just went through an entire phase. Apparently, this is the first movie of Phase 5. Is that true? Is that true? Like I think that's what I saw.
This is
like
Phase 5.
Like we had Phase 4, and it was nothing. It was a bunch of nothing that didn't really connect and wasn't good. Ugh.
So, to me, this felt like bringing Kang in at this point was like, what does Kang have to do with Ant-Man? That makes no sense. Why use Ant-Man to launch this phase, whatever? But it felt to me like there were all these complaints about it being so directionless that they had to okay, here's Kang, we're doing stuff, we got a plan, it's moving forward, and they had to get him in there and show how cool he was and how big of a threat he was. They're we know where it's headed, so stop complaining about this. To me, there was a little hint of that, but I just don't know that it fit this movie. And I started to do some of the homework, when before that I watched Ant-Man 1 and 2.
Me too.
And I thought, this isn't really a cohesive trilogy. We got some distance from it now. We can look back on it, but so watching 1 and 2 without Civil War and Endgame, and that scene in Loki, the last episode of Loki, you don't get a full trilogy. And I don't know if it matters, but to me, we grew up on movie trilogy, Indiana Jones and Star Wars. These, they were their own thing, but they were a bigger whole. like, I don't know, these movies. What is an Ant-Man trilogy? It's not really a thing. And when you look back, like, you buy a Blu-ray box set or whatever of Ant-Man, it's like, well, you're not getting the full story. And again, I don't know if that matters because Marvel has always been bigger than that. But I don't know. I just don't know if you guys had any opinions on that.
Yeah.
Of, like,
well,
their historical place or their significance.
The biggest, maybe the most valid criticism I saw for this movie and this was a lot of people saying this is a Fantastic Four movie, but instead they used Ant-Man and Company.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, I feel like we love Guardians of the Galaxy, and they've done that a lot with them, with Infinity War, with Endgame, and inserting them and, major things happening to that group, not in their movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't hate Phase 4 for what it was. It just doesn't, like you said, it doesn't connect maybe all that well. And they're lesser known characters or more unpopular characters, but I didn't hate it. I like Shang-Chi and when we'll talk about how we felt about Ant-Man and Quantumania, but
like I've been rewatching the Daredevil Netflix show in preparation.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get a new season of that. So I've just been going slowly through that whenever I have some time. And like, okay, I watched the first season. That's perfect. Second season, they reference Jessica Jones. That's clever. Okay. I went to start the third season. I was like, what in the world's happening? Like, Elektra's in a hole and there's a thing. I was like, oh, crap, I got to watch Defenders, don't I? I had forgotten a huge part of that show takes place in the Defenders. So I'm like, I was annoyed. I was like, I don't want to watch Defenders again at this point in history. So, like, I don't know that any of this stuff, like, I can sit, Age of Ultron will be on TBS on some weekend and I'll sit and watch 20 minutes of it. It's like, that's fun. But as far as, like, rewatchability, like, Seth, you said you rewatched the Iron Man movies. Like, I feel like those kind of maybe stand alone a little better. But, like, is there any sort of going back to these later on in history and getting a full cohesive thing? Like, it's impossible. 31 movies and counting. I don't know that there ever will be a.
Well,
I don't even know what word to describe it.
I think they've done it better in the rest of the Infinity Saga than they did here. Like, those Iron Man movies go together well. I think the Captain America trilogy, holds some water, but this it just goes. I went back and watched this for the same reason you did. I want to, remember what happened and be able to, because we're trained when you have a trilogy that there's going to be threads that go through it, and they're going to pay off in that third one. That and none of this will be a part of the greater all those other movies they're tied into. But man. And there was a little of that, but geez, there wasn't even a Luis. We did, he's not even in this movie, right? I don't remember.
And like,
and
like
that would have been pretty awesome to have Luis in the quantum realm with all those weird,
explaining them all.
Yeah, explaining everything. I could have went for the Luis.
There was enough. There was enough inexplicable stuff in that movie that he could have been in the cantina as easily as anybody else.
But that feels like
tuck him in there.
Have you even talked to a fan? Like, everybody quotes Luis or loves Luis or that's my favorite part was Luis doing that. And it's like, how do you make a movie without him? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know. It's because that's so good. It's kind of the best parts of those Ant-Man movies, and then they just not in this. That blows my mind.
And not even him, but Judy Greer and her husband.
That's what I mean. Those threads,
those movies.
Yeah, those threads that went back and watched those. I'm like, oh yeah, we've got this broken family that have came together back together in the second movie and are so supportive of each other. Like, how can they be a part of this? I can't wait to see. Well, they're not.
No, it doesn't.
They're not. That's I don't know.
Yeah, every Marvel movie's got a kind of a formula, or the hero and the costume. But like, to me, that what made those first two Ant-Man movies special is that family reaction and the coworkers.
Yeah.
That Luis has, and like, we gotta save the day. We'll bring in the guys in the van to say,
Yeah.
Like,
Where's T.I.?
That's different. T.I. and
that
Baba Yaga.
The whole deal of him. I mean, they tried to act like it had something to do with him being a thief, which it didn't. But it's like in the first one, he's like doing things in town. It's I mean, I know we don't need to see a ton of more San Francisco or whatever, but it was just like a lot of the big and small stuff, and like how does that even? It has no punch in the quantum realm, how big or small they are. It's like nothing matters. I don't. I like. Like you said, they were trying to do the Fantastic Four or Guardians of the Galaxy or no matter how bad you want it to be, all of those things, or even Star Wars, because you got to have your cantina of weird people,
Now, and my daughter actually mentioned that kind of she felt it kind of felt like Star Wars, when we went and saw it. Now, all of that, like, I've seen a lot of valid criticism of this movie, right? But I will admit, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I knew you were gonna like this movie.
Like a good, you put me down on a good old rebellion movie. I am there for it.
See, I was not sure with you whether you would embrace the Star Warsiness of it, or you would be like, "That's not it's a little lesser Star Wars."
I really did. Now, I did not before we went. I did not rewatch one or two or even anything Marvel, Ant-Man related. We just went, and I did. As I was watching it, I realized Luis wasn't in it, but it didn't, like, I don't know. I don't say it didn't faze me or anything, but I just really enjoyed the movie. It was weird and funny and different. And like I said, I've heard a lot of valid criticism, a lot of stuff that makes sense. And, in the criticisms, like, oh, why did, going back through the other movies, why did Janet, send Scott into the quantum realm, before they got dusted or whatever, blipped, and didn't care, but now it, she didn't.
She wasn't suffering for 30 years. You thought she was suffering for 30 years. She was down there hanging out in the bar banging Bill Murray and probably Kang.
Right.
It's like,
so, but in the end, like, I was just having a good time watching this movie, and it was all right with me. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't hate the movie. I didn't hate we are being critical here. It just wasn't.
I have seen some serious hate online about this movie, which we do with any Marvel movie, but I didn't expect it for this one.
Rewatching the first two, I liked them even more.
Yeah.
Like, I remember liking them, but like rewatching the second one's not quite as good as the first one, but I still like really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Oh, the small stuff is so good, like running around on a record or on the blade of a knife or getting caught in the bathtub or using a truck bed for a scooter. Having the whole finale of that first movie in a child's bedroom, a toy train track or whatever.
Yeah, so that's where this excels, this character and his supporting cast, and these between movies like Civil War and these giant epic Fate of the Multiverse movies. But I just don't feel like the story is just not organic to Scott Lang.
Why is Scott not helping people? There's no why. It's just all of a sudden he's too big for his britches. He wrote a book, and it's like, that's fine, but you gave us no reason for this. Yeah. Like, why doesn't he care about people anymore? It was just manufactured.
But I rewatched the trailer, or watched, I guess, the the most recent trailer I hadn't seen till after.
Oh, I
the
should have
movie.
done that. I've never seen
And
it.
there's dialogue.
Well, they were selling a different movie.
It leads you to believe Scott wants more time with Cassie. Scott missed Cassie growing up,
yeah,
right?
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
And there's dialogue of Kang like, "You want more time? I can give you more time."
Yeah,
like that's a compelling movie. Why would he help Kang out or whatever? Oh, maybe he can get some of those years back that he missed with his daughter. Boom. That's a Scott Lang story. That's a conflict, but that's not in the movie whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the only thing I can see why Scott would have anything to do with Kang is the time travel aspect, saving a rebellion from him. Again, that Michelle Pfeiffer never bothered to mention after all this time. Like I see a lot of shoehorning going on of like getting this character to this place to introduce this villain. It just seemed very manufactured and not organic. It said a lot of the first 30 movies, like it felt like dominoes being set up. This feels like, I don't know, just put it over here, see if it works.
And what one weakness here is because they go into this quantum realm. We've got all this timey-wimey stuff. And it's like Rick and Morty did it better. It's like we've seen it, Rick and Morty do this stuff over and over and crush it. They even hired a Rick and Morty writer. He wrote this, and the stuff with the ants is that is so obviously this guy, came up with that. But there is good stuff like, of course, Kang.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors was great. I'm excited about him. I liked MODOK.
Yeah, I did too.
And his big fat Joe Rogan looking face stuffed in that thing.
Yeah.
Like when I saw it was Darren, I don't know whether that was
you're loving it or completely repulsed by it. I don't think there's anyone middle of the road on MODOK.
Yeah. I don't know whether any of that was in the previews. I didn't see him, but that was a surprise to me that was Darren Cross, and I was like, oh yeah. Like I love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense. Why did Kang do this to this guy? I don't freaking know, but I love that. I thought he was hilarious. He looked so ridiculous. And it's MODOK. Who cares? Do whatever you want with him. But anyway, what we got. So what would you think of Kang, Jordan?
I was not a fan of it. It just looked too silly. And like people laughed when he first appeared, which I think was the idea. They wanted you to kind of laugh at it, but I don't know. That's just a character that it barely works in the comics as art. Like it's real hard to get it to work in person.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a Kang fan. I like Kang and I like Jonathan Majors, so I think he's going to pull it off. And it makes me actually excited for the new season of Loki. Like the whole Kang's a big retcon anyway. Like even in the comics, I don't think they originally planned on him being Ramatut. And, it's just like oh, he was that guy also, and so I'm interested to see where they go with that. But he can deliver a line, and just everything he says is good.
I thought he was great.
He was definitely the saving grace. Like it makes me more confident about the next 25 movies or however many he's going to be in. That I think he can pull off the main villain role.
I actually really enjoyed the Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I am a huge Michael Douglas fan. Like I love the game, and he was the '90s thriller king. I love him, and he's still got it. As much as I like them getting big stars to be in this stuff.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like, man, if you got anything left in the tank, do you need to be doing? He's still got good timing.
Yeah,
him talking about them ants. Just like I don't know, or what I think best line of the movie to me was when he's like, there's the one thing with Linda, but she just wasn't you, baby.
Yeah.
And I was like, he still got it,
Yeah.
at however old he is. And I was like, man, I want to see Michael Douglas do something else big,
I thought they made up well enough for, some of the, like we were talking, the T.I. and Luis and what's that guy's name? Mike? Is it Michael?
I don't know.
Anyways,
was that? I thought that guy. I was thinking that guy was in it, just playing one of the aliens.
David Dastmalchian. He was the blob Jello guy.
Okay.
With no holes.
The whole guy, was that the whole guy?
The whole guy.
That's one of the best lines.
Yeah.
Also, where he has to stop and count his holes. That's right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I thought the Ant-Man family, it worked enough for me that I really did enjoy that, and having Hank Pym there and be so much more involved in the story and what was happening there. I enjoyed all of that. If they don't, we never see him, Michael Douglas again in one of these movies, at least we got a little something there.
Rehabilitating Hank Pym is I love it. I love me some Hank Pym.
Was not a fan of the look of the movie, which I knew just from the teaser and the weird quantum.
I said I didn't like Strange World last year, and this is the same reason. It looked exactly like this. I'm the same.
The kids sitting behind me were chattering. It was, again, mall 25 minutes worth of trailers, commercials, so the kids behind me were chattering, and at one point, one of them said, "Are you talking about Shark Boy or Lava Girl?" Like, made some kind of comment about that movie, which I have not thought about in decades. And then this movie, then I can't stop thinking about it as this movie goes on, and I've seen many people reference that and Spy Kids as the look of this movie, like 20 years ago, special effects, green screen, CGI stuff. And it's like, we're watching stuff like these Star Wars shows. We've seen they're filmed in a big empty warehouse.
Yeah.
With
the void.
Nothing around it. Like, a lot of shows are doing that. I saw some behind the scenes of The Last of Us, of like just looking out a window and it's just a blue screen and there's nothing back, like, and they fill in all the decay and all the fallen over buildings and stuff. And it's like, these are shows with TV budgets who are doing it way better than a blockbuster Marvel movie. And again, maybe it was that mall screen. We said that screen's not as good.
It looked better in Athens.
Okay, the
I'm
visuals
sure.
To me didn't. Yeah, and again with this weird cantina aliens and trippy worldscapes and stuff, well, I was just not into it. It just didn't look. In a year we've gotten Avatar and some of these other big budget effects movies that just, a lot of this movie relied on looking cool, and I just wasn't that impressed by it. And I saw a clip of Evangeline Lilly talking about the effects, and like we've talked about before about the helmets, the CGI helmets coming on and off, and I can't help
nanotechnology. Gotta love it.
Yeah, blah. Again, why you take your helmet off 10 times in the middle of a fight just to yell Cassie and then put your helmet back on?
Yeah.
But like she was laughing about how they have to do it, like the shrinking special effects, and she's like, you have to nod and shrink. It's like she was on Fallon or somebody. I saw a clip, and like they're practicing. You have to nod like your helmet's going on, and then like crumple down into a ball so they can animate you. I was like, that is. I couldn't not see that every time they did it, that little nod, flipping the helmets on. I was like, they did that 9 million times and it drove me nuts.
Yep. Well, a couple of things. One, we had Cheaty from The Good Place in there as like the interpreter or whatever, and like, does that kill all the rumors that he's going to be Mr. Fantastic? Because he was high up on the list, people were saying. So I'm guessing he's not going to be Mr. Fantastic. And also, the one thread that I really liked in the other movies was the whole deal with his daughter. Was she's wanting to be his partner, and they did that in this movie, kind of, but emotionally, that did not pay off. Like them setting, I think, in the second movie and talking about that and her, how she'd be a good partner and all this stuff. I'm like this is going to really pay off, and it did not. It was just like, ugh.
See, all three of these movies had the same director. Paul Rudd is involved with writing the screenplay and producing. Like they've had the same people behind them all, but it just doesn't feel like the payoff to a trilogy. It just feels like another chapter in this bigger saga.
I feel like they didn't know what beats in the previous movies were what connected with people. If you'd have asked me, that would have been one of the top 5 things. I want this to pay off with the family aspect. How many people? Everybody's going to want that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it did expand on, the Ant-Man family a little bit in the fact that, the actual family part of it, and showing her, like I said, I really enjoyed, Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer in it, and their interaction with, I don't know the actress's name that played Cassie, but like showing a little history there. They're working together and that stuff, and that played into, like you were talking about, he doesn't help people, or he's not a superhero anymore. But then, in this movie, in this story, it's very focused on her picking that up, and
I know it just seemed manufactured. Like
I know what you mean. I do. I don't think it was like. So,
or if he'd have thought, I don't know, the who gives the speech at the end? Is it her? Talking about, I forget, like talking about the rebellion and stuff and helping people. I don't know. It was like, maybe if it was like him saying that, or saying like, he's discovering that, like, it's a total turnaround for him. This is what I should be doing and stuff, helping people. I don't know. It's just,
I had myself, we're talking major spoilers here, but I had myself convinced that this was going to be like the end of Scott Lang in the Marvel movies.
Well, I think that was clearly the plan. I think this whole, because they just recently announced they're putting the brakes on releasing this stuff. They've got a bunch of stuff in the can. But they're like, Bob Iger's like, we're slow roll this stuff and stop this fatigue.
Less TV shows
So I think they had to redo this ending, because I think the plan was to leave him in there, maybe Evangeline Lilly too, and have the Young Avengers save them. Young Avengers got to if we get rid of all these heroes, put Thor here and everybody all over the place, then we'll have to go save them with the young kids. But
that was such a weird ending. Like I said, spoilers. But like, I'm now thinking of it, like, we got to stay behind to stop him. It's like, let's go back. Like there was no. That's so weird.
And he was stuck behind, and then they're just like, they send, Evangeline Lilly pops back.
Yeah, immediately. Yeah,
it's like, well, there's your fix. They didn't have to leave him back there, and set that up.
In that happening, it also made me, because I was like, oh crap, when that happened, I was immediately like, oh, okay, it's got a big happy ending. The whole family's, I was okay with it. Like I said, I like a rebellion. It's very predictable. It's rebellion, and we got to get the Nazi forces of evil army and all of that, mindless drones and all that. But even though that I knew that's what it was, I was completely okay with it. Like, it was a little different. They
probably could have fixed the whole thing for me if they had Luis explain what the ants have been doing for the last.
Definitely would have made it better.
Long.
Yeah. For
or Luis peeks his head through the door. Come with me if you want to live, bro. Come on, we gotta go.
Yeah. I don't know. That definitely. I really missed him. I'm with
Cliff though. Like, I don't think I would have wanted a cliffhanger what's going to happen to Scott again? Him stuck in the quantum realm after another movie. Like,
not when I know it's going to be years
wanted.
and years of waiting on that, because it is going to be years. I don't know how. As much as they've been setting up this Young Avengers, then none of them going to be young by the time they get around to it. Like these kids are already, not
they grow
kids
fast
anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do about that.
I had a couple of quotes I liked that made me feel, I wouldn't call it a woke movie, but it had some something to say to certain folks, a certain segment of the audience, where she says, just because it isn't happening to you doesn't mean it isn't happening. Felt very pointed. And there was I didn't get the exact quote, but it was like something about how it feels like we've been losing lately. Everything's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That felt very timely. And then, of course, a very iconic line.
Timely. I get it.
It's never too late to stop being a dick.
Yeah.
That feels like the... If anything, you take anything from this movie.
Lesson learned.
I liked all the mountain of Scots climbing like ants up there. How did they not say, look at us?
Yeah. But again, even in that moment, like, how much better would it have been, like, had it been Scott and Luis, and they're like, he's like trying to work out the probability, and talking through it. And I was like, but I love
there's only one different one. that didn't make any sense either. You get the Baskin Robbins, Scott, and the rest of them are all exactly the same. But it's like, that was so almost on the edge of being a cool Rick and Morty moment. Like, what happens to all these freaking guys, that are created here, and it's just like they just
maybe that's to my advantage, be somebody that's never watched an episode of Rick and Morty, so I have no comparison there. It's just I just thought it was fun and cool.
It's all that done better.
With burping.
Yeah, with burping.
So I don't know. Immediately leaving the theater, I was feeling a little let down. Maybe once we've had a few more movies in this phase, I can look back like, oh, they really did set that up really well. Like the final episode of Loki, where he's just sitting and talking for half an hour, felt like a little bit like, all right. Mm-hmm. I did rewatch that episode too, and like he's talking about different multiverses and incursions and stuff. It's like, oh, he was talking about Secret Wars before they'd ever really announced Secret Wars. So like, again, I can look. You can always look back on this stuff and see different things. So didn't dislike the movie, was a little let down just because of how much I liked the other two Ant-Man movies. And it felt like a waste to not get that. Like I say, we think Guardians 3 is going to pay off like gangbusters for these two movies we love. So I would have loved to see Ant-Man have the chance to do that without being saddled. That's what we complain a lot about in comics. Like, oh, that run on this title is really good, but it had to stop and do a crossover. They had to do issues involving this, and it hurt the momentum of the good story that was being told. So, like, that happens a lot in comics. So I hate to see it happen in a movie, but it felt like Scott was like, he drew the short straw. I was like, well, you guys got to set up Kang and these next 8 movies, and so you're going to do this now and not do what you maybe should have done with a different story.
We had the post-credits. Had the Kangs, Immortus, and I assume it was Ramatut and Scarlet Centurion.
Yeah, I looked those up. So Ramatut would have been the first one. Fantastic Four number 19 in 1963 is when he showed up. And like you said, that was not Kang when he appeared. He was retroactively identified as Kang in 1964 in Avengers number 8. So they introduced this character like, oh, he was also that guy from a couple of years ago. Yeah. They did the same thing with Immortus, introduced in Avengers 10, 1964, and then retroactively turned into Kang in 1975. So over a decade later, like, oh, Immortus is also Kang. Scarlet Centurion was introduced in Avengers Annual number 2 in 1968. Alias assumed by Kang after his defeat by the FF in ancient Egypt and his encounter with Dr. Doom in the 20th century. So it's complicated. I still couldn't tell you Kang's history from the comics. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I think the movie's trying to set that up of like it's anything and everything. It's a multiverse. It doesn't matter.
He had
anybody.
He basically had access to Doom's time machine or whatever, and went out and got this technology to build this awesome suit that makes him super strong and have these powers. And he's of course really smart, and that's basically it. There was the whole council of Kangs. There's just going to be a bunch of Kangs. Like this is supposed to be a different version of him than was in the Loki series. You know, so that's why he acted different, and which is probably not noticeable to a lot. They probably that's the same thing, you know. But you're and then of course there's a young version of him in the Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So when we will get that, you know, who knows? But I assume it'll be there. I'm excited to see where it goes.
The post credits.
Yeah, the final thing, was the
set up for Loki season 2. Victor Timely, which I guess is from the comics as well.
Yeah.
Avengers Annual in the 90s. A version of Kang who established the town of Timely, Wisconsin in 1901 to serve as his 20th century base of operations. Avengers Annual 21.
So I assume that in the season 2, they find him. I don't know whether they'll be who knows? They may be popping around looking at different versions of him, but I assume he's probably in the show trying to like hide out back in that time. And I don't know. It makes me more interested for that because I did not love Loki season 1. There was parts I liked, but
yeah, me too.
I'm interested to see where they go with it. I don't know. Overall, it was fine. It was good enough. I was glad to get something. I'll see where we go from here. What's the next thing? Guardians of the Galaxy, I expect more from. They pushed the Marvels to late in the year. Try to slow down this schedule of Marvel movies.
That's the other thing is they've shuffled a few of these where, like, again, if you assume the storytelling is ironclad,
yeah,
this leads to this, leads to this. Like you couldn't shuffle stuff around.
Yeah.
But...
Well, if they're going to hold off, I think they've already shot Hawkeye season 2 and something else, and they're just going to hold on to them for who knows, probably till next year.
You
know, we're not all going to live forever.
All right. That does it. That's our Ant-Man Quantumania review. Thank you for listening. And we will be back soon with more. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Hey. I like
He forgot. Yeah.
Hey. I like this one. I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Bye forever.
I always say hey to start. I don't know why I tried that.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.